Well, we're back with another interesting guest for you here on the Chatterbox. Deanie Pellegrinin, coming to you through the courtesies of the Tryon Daily Bulletin. I'm bound to get that right because as I'm in the office, incidentally, here in a beautiful old converted school building in the heart of downtown Columbus, which is a sister city for Tryon. It's kind of one community. But I'm going to be talking to Mr. Ellis Greene. Mr. Greene has a beautiful voice, and I'm hoping that we could maybe hire him someday to do some work for us. This sounds great. Anyway, Mr. Greene, thank you so much for allowing us to come in during your busy day here at the Polk County Education Center. Fine. Okay. Enough from me. Mr. Greene has a title, Director of Curriculum and Education. I'm right so far. And so I'm going to find out from you, what exactly, with a title like that, what exactly do you do?
Thank you, ma'am. That's very funny that you ask. My son often would ask me exactly what that means. I had to put it in very simple terms. And so I make sure that we are teaching what we're supposed to teach, how we're supposed to teach it. And with that being said, I make sure that our schools have access to all the information from not only the state, but any kind of national organizations on what curriculum is expected of students in this day and age. What are they supposed to learn? What are the content and skills that we need to deliver at each grade level so that students have a successful foundation on which to build their career and future plans? Well,
apparently you're doing something right, because I'm trying to get people on this little visit that I do with the residents here. And it always comes up what great school system we have here. I talked to Mr. Miller some time ago, and I was really struck by this when I found out how high you rate, even nationwide, with your school system. But to back up a little bit, you say you are meeting standards that are set by whom?
Those standards are obviously adopted by the state. States drive education in this country. We have moved maybe more towards a national approach to math and English curricula with the Common Core standards, and North Carolina has tried to follow that with the other core areas and calling them essential standards. So we've had a curricular change in every content area, but that is set by the legislature and the Department of Public Instruction in North Carolina.
But do you... you're kind of dictated mostly by the state, but the federal government still enters into it.
That's correct, ma'am. And a lot of the things that we do to accompany our core education, whether you're talking about exceptional children, maybe you're talking about at-risk learners or high-poverty at-risk students, then the federal government will kick in some funding, and along with that funding comes some requirements and some things that you have to make sure you do. But ultimately, you're exactly right. The state sets our curricula and our expectations. The federal government supports that, and the local government definitely supports that, but the state is the one who drives it.
That makes it better, because I think the states have lost too much control of things that, it gets down to a local level, and I don't think that we have to have one central something that tells people off in Tryon, Columbus, Saluda, and Landrum. I have to get the four things in, give equal time. You know here what is needed. But there, I guess, has to be a standard in order to go on to higher education and so forth. Have there been many changes? Now, you've been here how long, Mr. Greene?
I've been in this district close to 20 years. And
you must have gone right out of high school.
I did, exactly. Well, I graduated from Appalachian State and came directly to Polk County. I was very lucky to be employed. But over the years, we've seen it change from a model of a 5-year cycle. In other words, you would have, let's take mathematics. You would have a curriculum for mathematics. You would keep that curriculum in place for around 5 years, and then there'd be a rotation. You'd have people from the state come in, higher education would be involved, a new set of standards, objectives, content, and skills would be designed and implemented. But with the advent of Common Core, I'm not sure if you'll hear more or not about that, but the Common Core standards are a move towards a national curriculum in English language arts and in mathematics. And then also North Carolina, like I said before, wanted to change their other curricula to line up with the way that the Common Core standards are written. And so you'll see in social studies, science, even in things like healthful living, PE, things like that, we have a brand new curriculum. So every curricular area in K-12 public education changed as of last year. And so we're working very hard to implement the new curriculum.
Who does this deciding, and what do they decide? I mean, they come in and they say, oh, we've got to change math. Are these educators, how do they determine whether you should change what you're doing?
That's a great question, and I can't go to the very highest levels. I think that definitely from the state, there was a push to try to maybe be more in line with other states with their standards so that we can compare ourselves on an equal playing field. Where do we really rank in North Carolina? So I think our legislature pushed for a little more, I don't want to say complete nationalization of the curriculum, but they wanted similar standards so that North Carolina could be ranked among the other states. So the legislature drove a great deal of that. Part of it, I think, is simply history and tradition. Hey, we've got to change it every 5 years, and that's what we do. And I'm not,
whether it's good or bad.
Exactly right. And I'm not necessarily one for that. I believe if something's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's a great adage, but they do, and they have, and I'm hopeful that we'll keep this set of standards and this curricula in place for quite some time so we can master it and get good at it.
Okay, they're trying to standardize. I can see there would be a reason for that, because people from students graduating from North Carolina might go to another college out of state. You have to have standards for everything to a degree, but they also have to be flexible and meet the needs what you feel. About the subjects that we're teaching, we have to have books.
Yes.
We still do read and teach reading and writing and arithmetic, don't we?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Absolutely.
It's not all computerized.
No. In fact, there is a tremendous focus on the integration of English and language arts skills in every curricular area. In other words, if I am a social studies teacher, for example, part of my curricular expectations would be to have a writing component, speaking component, some type of communication skills built into what I'm teaching already in social studies so that students will be better communicators, better equipped to face that world when they go to college or when they go on to the workplace. So, yes, ma'am, you're right. There's a huge focus on communication skills, even though we've got texting and Facebook.
Yes. BLU, TVY.
That's right.
I see young couples walking down the street or in restaurants or wherever, and they each have a cell phone, and I find a lot of times they're talking to each other in a language maybe it's this we don't know what they're saying. I don't know. But how computerized are you? Are there still that personal touch and books where they actually see letters and they read and learn to spell and that?
In this day and age of what I like to call, or what's called commonly out there, one-to-one initiatives, in other words, where students are getting computers or iPads or something in their hand in the form of a device.
Now, this is provided by the school.
By the school system. In a lot of places, it sure is. We have not gone that route because we do believe that there needs to be a balance. There has to be a balance between the access to that type of technology. Those kids are going to need that skill. That's what their jobs are going to be like in the future. So we definitely respect the need for that. By the same token, I feel like a great deal of our success in Polk County anyway has been because of the relationships that we establish with kids, these interpersonal goings-on between teachers and students where, hey, I trust my teacher. I see them as a resource, and I don't mind going to them for help. And the teacher sees from the student, I need you to speak. I need you to interact. I need you to show me that you know these things. And sometimes that can't necessarily be accomplished on a computer. So yes, ma'am, I think it's a cautious progression here in this county that we understand that's the future, that's the direction we need to go, but we cannot lose the personal touch or we'll lose the education that we're providing.
They don't mandate that you go computers and certain things. There are certain things, computers, I hate them, but they're here to stay. And it's been a great thing. I realize that. But it's also been a deterrent in some places where you see young children who are supposed to be learning to read and write, sitting there playing games, supposedly learning on a computer. So apparently you're doing something right here, because the reputation I found in my 4 years of being here in Polk County is great. And the young people have an attitude that is just amazing. I love talking to the young people because they're our future.
Absolutely. I would have to echo, your sentiment with regards to the young people, the raw materials that we have in this county. A great deal of community support as well. When certain other governments, local municipalities, counties around us are cutting the funding that they provide public schools, our county has chosen to either maintain or increase it. And boy, that we are really lucky to have that happen that way. People ask us all the time, what are you doing that makes you so successful? They want to come and copy a program or put this in place or that. And our answer to them is always the same. If you cannot take our kids, our families, our community, and lift them up and put them down where you're at, I'm not sure we can give you any advice, because it takes all of that. It takes a commitment from your local community. It takes a commitment from the families and the students who are in your schools. It takes a commitment from the educators that you put in place to make all that work, and it's a great synergy. It can't be done in isolation. It can't be a program that does it. It has to be people. It has to be people caring about what they're doing and caring about the kids that they serve, and we're lucky to have all that.
Well, this has been looked on, and I kind of looked on it that way till I actually started living here, as a retirement community where a lot of people retire here or they have part-time homes here. I have found that is not true. We do have retired people here, but they don't retire from living. And even those people are involved in everything that goes on in the community, from the schools, to the arts, to the science, everything that's going on, the sports. You're concentrating more on education now instead of, as I mentioned, sports. Have good teams, and that's important. You have beautiful facilities. But I have found that community support for everything from the arts, education, recreation, looking after all of us older senior citizens, beautiful retirement facilities here for people who live on. But those people are they're still contributing, which I think is what makes this such a unique place. I'm trying to round out some of those people because, as I say, they're here still giving. And when there's a need for some money to provide something, they always reach down the checkbook without any publicity. It's just a great place. How did you are a native Carolinian? No.
Absolutely,
Okay.
from Catawba County, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
how did you end up here?
My senior year at Appalachian State, I was a North Carolina teaching fellow, and had looked around the state for various and sundry jobs. I grew up near the mountains. I've always loved the mountains and wanted to be in Western North Carolina. And so when Polk County had a job opening, obviously I was very interested in coming to interview for that. I've never heard of Polk County before in my life. I wanted to come check it out. Was real curious about a place that had the size population, the size of school population that they had.
But you looked it over. What was your impression when you first came here? Do I want to live here?
I think I tell a funny story. I came for my interview, and it's right here in this building was my first interview. And I drove through Columbus, and I saw the "You are now leaving Columbus" sign before I ever saw the "You are now entering Columbus" sign. And I thought, wow, where did I go? What did I do? But the minute I stepped foot in Polk County High School, the minute I stepped foot in this building and met the people who are charged with educating the kids of this community, the students of this community, man, I was blown away. The support and the kindness and the true focus that these individuals had and still have on doing quality programming for kids in schools.
Yeah, I always am interested in why people come here, and usually they don't have. There's not an answer to it. No. It's just a feeling. Now that sounds strange. My daughter and her husband moved down from Cary because it was growing large. They had a business they could do from their home if they wanted to, and they spent a weekend here at the Pinecrest Inn. Give them a little plug. We need more Pinecrest Inn. Places like that. We have some good ones, but we need more. But I said, first time I came here then, well, what attracted you to it? And the more I was around town, the more there's just a feeling.
It really is. It's hard to describe because I think it depends, quite frankly, on the people who are here. And it's so hard to put your finger because there's so many different types of people. It's such an eclectic community when you get down to it. One side of the county is not like the other side of the county. And so no matter who you are, I think it has something to offer you. It has someone to offer you to come and latch onto. And like you, I had heard the rumors. I heard it was a retirement community. And wow, young people, if you're looking for a wife or something like that, you don't need to come here. But I found the opposite. I actually met my wife. She was a guide guidance counselor at the high school, and I was a math teacher there. And the first year
you started
she was there,
in here at the high school teaching.
I did. I started teaching mathematics and did a little bit of science and computer engineering as well. But met my wife there, and the rest is history. I got snagged by Polk County, and man, I sure am happy about that.
I'm glad you didn't say you got snagged by her.
No, that was a mutual agreement.
But you men don't realize it. But we get you.
Oh, there's no doubt y'all are tremendously smarter than the males. We just haven't conceded that point yet.
Right.
But yes.
But it sounds remote. We're here in these beautiful mountains. You can look out. I know at our place we can look out and you see these beautiful mountains. And at night when the lights are on and the homes that are built there, it's like a Christmas tree. It's like a fairyland. And I keep saying back to Ohio, oh, you ought to come here. It's just a great place to live. It wouldn't be for everyone, no. Right. But I felt I've been active all my life, and I wanted to get involved. And I started at the St. Luke's thrift shop. That was my first volunteer thing. And then I met all these people here. I'm just amazed at the people that make up this community. And Mayor Peebles, when I first talked to him, and he said, what other town of 2,000 less population, the county is a little bit larger than that, but
right.
The town has 4 bookstores.
Absolutely. It's a tremendous resource, I think, not only for the residents who live here, definitely for the educational community, because not only do you have those resources, but you have the people who really enjoy them, who make them come alive. So when you read a story about an admiral or a general or something like that, I can run to Tryon Estates, or I can go down here to another place and get somebody to come to the school and speak, who's been in that role or done that. So you just don't find that everywhere. We sure are lucky to have it.
Well, we have a New York Times number 7 on the New York Times bestseller list. Paul Reed settled here. I think he's been here something like 6 years. Yes. But they looked around. I'm having him on. He's been so busy signing his new book, which is just great. you ought to make that a necessary reading.
Make it on those reading lists.
Start them on reading in this freshman year, and they'll finish it by the time they're a senior. Anyway, it's just beautifully done. But he said we tried different places. We wanted to move from where they were, and he said, we stayed here, we came back, but there was something about it that attracted him to come here. People, but the thing is, I feel that we're small. We're a dot on the map, but we're at the crossroads of the world. Yes. And I have found that we are close enough. If you want a big city for something, I mean, I never have to leave town to shop for anything. Right. But if you have to go out of town, or if you live here and you have to travel, we're close to larger cities within just a short drive, airports, large city facilities, but we have the convenience and the comfort of a small town living.
I can't agree with you more. I'm also on the Economic Development Commission and feel that was a great way to summarize what we try to tell folks when they inquire about Polk County. And it truly is the best of all worlds. What do you want? Because we can send you there in a short amount of time. Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte, even if it's just Forest City or Hendersonville, Asheville's up there. I can be snow skiing, or I can be out on the lake water skiing in a matter of 20 or 30 minutes. And you just don't find a lot of places like that. So absolutely, ma'am. Geographically and with regards to metropolitan areas, we've got small town living. We can be 15 or 20 minutes away from big city living. So either way, we're lucky.
Well, we have a lot to offer, so you don't have to leave town, because there's something doing every day if you want to go, or every evening. A lot of things that, live theater. We have beautiful art, the Tryon Arts Center. We have, as I said, 4 bookstores, but we have just a nice population of people here who make it interesting. And sure, people disagree when they're trying to decide something for a town, and I'm amused, but I read the paper cover to cover because I've learned names of people and their thoughts when they put letters to the editor and so forth. But when it comes to getting things going, they seem to come together and get things done.
Absolutely. I'll give you one example of that. We had an idea from one of our teachers at the high school. When I became principal there, he really wanted to try to look at maybe making a small school farm. He had seen some school farms be successful out there.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes, ma'am. I use that example because you're talking about a school system with no money. I mean, we have money to run our operations, but we don't have money to go out there and start buying property.
The necessities, but not the luxuries.
There you go. And so you look at this 10-acre plat of land, which is right beside campus, would be perfect for that type of arrangement. And you sit there almost like a kid before Christmas. Man, I really wish I could have that, but I know my parents can't afford it. Blah blah blah. But the bottom line was this community came through. This community helped us raise an inordinate amount of money, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, to be able to purchase that land. And now, because of that, we've had over a decade of kids who are learning in a real-world classroom out there on that farm.
And career. I think that there's a trend, maybe I'm misreading things, but there's a trend to back to nature, that you can make a good living letting Mother Nature provide you with the source, that you've got to do the work, and it's hard work. And those kids at that farm, because that goes on 12 months a year.
It's 24 hours a day. It's 12 months a year. People used to laugh at me because I would get a phone call from the sheriff's department about the goats being out on 108. And so I would give a phone call to sometimes my ag teacher, but other times there were kids who were assigned over the weekend, for example, to be in charge of feeding the animals. And people like to make a lot of comments about teenagers these days, but I think the world's in good hands if our students are any indication of that, because they're there. They're willing to be there at 3 o'clock in the morning when a goat's getting ready to have a baby and needs help. So we've been pleased to see that. I think kids realize now that regardless of their career, if you put your heart and soul into something and work hard at it, you're going to reap a lot of benefits from it.
You get out of something what you put into
Absolutely.
it, and they're putting a lot into that, and it's just a great facility. I was just amazed when I saw this farm next to a high school. The high school is beautiful. I talked to some of the students one day when I was going out for our community chorus rehearsals. They're gracious enough to let us use that facility, and I talked to them about the school. I said, what a beautiful setting. And they kind of grinned, and I said, if I was a student here, I probably wouldn't get anything done but look out the window at the beautiful scenery around, because it's so restful, so peaceful. My mind would just die, And they said, well, some of the rooms, I think they've turned the seats around so we can't look out the window. And I didn't know whether that was the truth or not, but they were laughing. But the young people here, the future of our country, I wish every place in the nation had the facilities and the instructors and the people in charge like yourself. And Mr. Miller, I recently did an interview with him. And it's just great to see that I'm not very concerned about the future of our country after seeing some of the young people from here. And we'll do this again sometime, maybe. But there's a lot that I would like to know about the books that you use. Sure. That would be a whole new program. And who dictates this? Who says you must use this and that? So we'll, if you can spare us the time, we'll be back. Aaron Greene, and who is the Director of Curriculum and Education. Instruction. Well, education is instruction.
Same thing. Yes,
but thank you so much. And we hope you'll keep joining us to meet some of these people who are making Polk County what it is. And if you've got some money you want to invest, I can't think of a better place to invest it than in Polk County and everything it has to offer. And scenically beautiful. At one time, Saluda was the Switzerland of North America, I understand. And then air conditioning ruined it because they didn't have to go up there to get cool. But anyway, thank you so much. And we hope that all of you have a great day. Thank you.